Hey team, we finally got the technical issues sorted out. Just had a bump out here to the office, to the other office, to the gym, just to get some work going on in the house. So just wanted to get away from the noise and all the distraction a little bit. But today's focus, today's topic, just wanted to touch on the fridge, on the pantry. Kind of had had a light bulb moment the other day going through and kind of discovered some stuff that was sitting in the back of the shelf, back of the cabinet that we hadn't had in a while, and just kind of give us a little more inspiration to maybe mix up the menu a bit and throw in some different foods, different flavors that we hadn't had in a while, and also just kind of reminded me of a different, maybe a different approach to take towards this whole situation in regards to planning and strategizing. I know a lot of folks kind of talking about well, hopefully you're not in a situation where you're having to ration out, but definitely having to be a little bit more strategic than what you kind of would in a normal work week, and setting a menu for what you do home cooking wise and that sort of thing. So, that's kind of something I started to think about is how to approach this whole thing, and I heard a lot of folks doing in-home date nights, dressing up and that sort of thing, but and other folks who might not be as comfortable with it and not sure really how to plan. So I was actually thinking the other day about what other situations have I been in? Does anyone get into to where you might have to put this kind of thought or strategy into it? And it's really, I guess, if you're going on a road trip, right, you're going to be buying minimal stuff. You're going to try and buy only what you need, what you'll use, not anything extra. You'll try and keep all the luxuries and the delicacies to a minimum. But at the same time, you don't want to be eating crackers and beef jerky for 5 day trip. So one, it was kind of now's a good time. I mean, and I'm sure a lot of folks may have done it already or may have been planning to do it. But good time to just go in, kind of clean out the cabinets, or at least maybe do another inventory of the cabinets just to see what else you have and start figuring out creative ways to mix that into the routine, making sure that you're getting a variety of flavors, that you're not going stir crazy with your food and with your intake, and a lot of people saying, well, why is that so important? Well, because a lot of times whenever you do get a bit more monotonous with your food selections, with your snacks and those things, it is going to lead to a bigger kind of, or could potentially lead to a bigger dip or a bigger kind of, I guess you'd say, trail off. I don't want to say fall off, but a lot of folks do refer to it as falling off the wagon. So if you can keep more variety in your routine, in your diet, or in your meals on a regular basis, then it could help you kind of maintain that interest, maintain that flavor, and not have that deep craving that we run into a lot of times, to where we just say, I guess kind of they refer to it as the screw it effect, to where you just start eating whatever you want. You eat anything in sight, so to speak, regardless of whether it's good, bad, beneficial, or whatever. So that's something is just take another new inventory of your cabinet, see what else you got in the back, think about how you can mix it in, and maybe add some new flavors, new tastes to the menu. And same thing with the fridge. Obviously, fridge is a little bit different story. You got to make sure that things are still good. They're not going bad or spoiling or anything like that. So the fridge will probably have a little bit higher turnover. But I always think about, and very fortunate to have learned this lesson. Coach John Berardi says his golden rule of nutrition and of food in the pantry is, don't keep anything in there that you or someone you love or even remotely tolerate would want to eat. So, if you know that, a 2 pound bag of marshmallows or the big barrels of cheese balls is going to be too tempting to keep around, don't use this shelter in place as an excuse to go get it. Maybe get the smaller individual packages so you can kind of manage those individual servings a little bit better, or maybe just make it a one-off kind of, hey, only on the weekend kind of splurge, and that way you're not going to have that consistent intake of the less desirable snacks or foods. So that was just kind of the big takeaway or big message to get across is just, now's a great time to just reevaluate what we got in the closet, what we have in the fridge and the pantry. Maybe it's time to throw out some things, or maybe it's time, a great time to mix in some new things as well. And then of course, with shopping experiences being what they are right now, be a bit more strategic about what you're getting. Kind of reevaluate if you really need to go down that snack aisle, or are there some other options that you can get. And I actually had this thought about 2 weeks ago, going through the grocery store myself and looking down a couple of aisles, seeing just how empty certain things were, canned foods, which is obviously great, very shelf stable at this time. But I was also thinking, wow, how grateful am I that we tend to cook with with raw vegetables, because if we had canned foods or canned vegetables in our routine on a regular basis, and then all of a sudden they're scarce, that can throw some extra stress and extra anxiety into the mix, because all of a sudden your whole routine is just spun on its side or flipped upside down. So really kind of think about, okay, well, we know that I know that the tendency is for these certain items, again, canned food items or shelf foods to be very scarce at this time. So what are some other ways, what are some other alternatives that I can maybe select or choose from that will still serve the same purpose as what those items did, but they might be just a slightly better option for me, or they're definitely going to be more abundant and easier to pick from during this time. So if you feel stuck and you're not sure, hey, my favorite go-to, coffee snack or coffee biscuit is gone right now. What else can I do as a substitute, or what else can I mix in? If you're curious about that, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot us a message, leave a comment, send us an email, and be happy to have a conversation and come up with some ideas there. But again, it's been a good realization, a good reminder that hey, times like these, when you are at home for extended periods of time, it's been a good reminder of just how easy it is to constantly go back to that same cabinet, the candy cabinet or candy drawer, whatever, and lose track of just how much how many trips you're making, how many times that you're dipping into that cookie jar. So again, just be mindful of, hey, how much, what am I keeping around the house? What am I keeping available for snacks, for meals, and anything in between? And is this something that I would feel comfortable having multiple servings of throughout the day? Or if I continually go back to this, by the end of the day, am I going to feel guilty for how many trips or how many servings or how many times that I had those cookies or those candies or chocolate squares or whatever it is? make sure that you're setting the strategy and really thinking about, okay, how can I measure the servings, for this, and make sure that I'm not going overboard and gaining. I like the way somebody put it, gaining the COVID-19, similar to the freshman 15. We don't want to come out of this thing. Not saying that we got to put a lot of focus on it, and it should or needs to be a big emphasis, but just make sure that you don't come out of this thing feeling like, man, I really fell off the deep end during that period. This is again a good time to just reemphasize what our goals are, what our strategies are, and what we're doing, the steps we're taking to work towards those. And be strategic about it. Leave yourself, maybe an hour block throughout the day, or one day throughout the week, or half a day or something, and say, you know what, I'm not thinking about it. I'm not measuring it. I'm not even going to count it. Just enjoy it, right? A lot of us are going to end up in those stir crazy, kind of stressful times from being in one spot and being kind of on lockdown, so to speak. So, food can be that release for us at different times, and not suggesting it should be all the time, but make sure that you allow yourself to just enjoy it. We talked yesterday about runs, and sometimes you got to leave the watch on your dresser, slip the headphones in, hit play on your best tunes, and just go. Don't even worry about time, distance, speed, anything. We got to do the same thing with food sometimes as well. Just make sure that we enjoy it, that we recognize what it is, or what purpose it's serving at that particular moment, and then just accept it. Don't. I know a lot of people say, hey, this is a guilt-free zone. Well, this is a guilt-free day, or this is a guilt-free hour in terms of our foods and our snacks. So yeah, I mean, if there's any questions, again, leave a comment, send us a message, send us an email. We're more than happy to set up a call, set up a video chat, Skype, WhatsApp, whatever it is, and just have a conversation about, what it is that you feel like maybe you're having trouble with, or ways that you can set up your environment. Maybe talk about things that you've got in your fridge or in your pantry, and how you can strategize that and use it to your benefit. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the big message for today. Again, if there's any other comments or questions to add to that in terms of in terms of how you can approach, or how you can attack your food, your fridge, your pantry, your snacks and whatnot during this time, feel free to let us know. Again, we're having conversations on a daily basis with folks about how they should be approaching this, and I think the biggest thing, probably the number one question that's come up in the last week and a half, 2 weeks is, hey, how do I stay at my weight where I am? And of course, this is coming from some younger athletes, high school, college age athletes who are still trying to play sport competitively, which is fine. Maybe not so much for the college graduates or recreational amateur weekend warriors, but one of the big things in terms of maintaining weight is just make sure that you're staying consistent with good quality protein at not every meal. So it doesn't have to be every meal, but definitely as many meals or as many feeding opportunities as you can. Now's not a time to. Obviously, a lot of the fast food restaurants are still open, and that's great. And of course, very grateful that those employees and those businesses can still stay open and support the community, and of course support their staff. But still kind of think about, consider what type of source it is. Obviously, if you're on a road trip or you're just in a part of town, or your schedule, whatever it is, if that's all that's available, hey, fair enough. Just recognize it for what it is, as the best available option at that point. Of course, you can always go for the chicken options, chicken sandwiches, chicken nuggets, those sorts of things, as kind of the best available. But otherwise, making sure that you're maintaining a good amount and good quality protein source can help maintain that body weight and keep things consistent, and not or at least decrease the weight loss and muscle mass loss that you might see during this in-home or shelter-in-place period. So that's a good one. Another questions, a few other questions is, around supplementation and whatnot. Something to consider is that because all of us are shelter in place or locked down, so to speak, that our bodies might not be burning as much. They might not be utilizing as many calories throughout the day as what we would on a normal day's activity. Walking to class, walking to and from work, in the parking lot, walking the dog, whatever. Actually, hopefully you're still walking the dog. But yeah, so keep that in mind as well, is that because you're less active, you might not need as much. Don't be getting the same plate servings that you would for all of your meals, and that just from that you might have because sorry, mixing thoughts here, but in terms of body weight, because you're not in the weight room, because your body is not exposed to as much volume and as much stress, if we use that term. It's your muscles and the cells are not going to need as much growth development, and so you will have kind of a little bit of loss there. One thing to keep in mind is that once you are able to return to the weight room, that weight, even if it is 3, 4, 5 pounds, that weight will come back in a very quick manner, simply because your body is going to respond to the stimulus, to the stress that you expose it to. So again, a slight loss in body weight is nothing to get severely alarmed about. If anything, it can be expected at this point that we're all gonna be in the same boat, unless you are one of those fortunate individuals to have your own free weight set up or weight setup period at home. But yeah, just it's like we always say, control what you control. Understand the circumstances, the situation that you're walking into or that you're dealt, and just do your best with it. So, but as long as it doesn't look like we have any questions coming through, so I'll actually wrap it up here a little bit early today. But we'll be back tomorrow and Friday with two other topics, and we're thinking about keeping in mind, for the next 3 to 4 weeks, certainly open to continuing to do this. So if anyone has any questions, any burning topics or suggestions or ideas that you'd love to discuss during this time, during our team huddles, let me know, and we'll keep it going. What we might do next week is scale back to, say, maybe a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then actually we'll have some exciting news. Hope to have some exciting news to share later this week about some other opportunities coming up. So, but again, just a big reminder: if you or someone is kind of struggling or just not sure or curious about what they can do or how to stay on track, just encourage them to reach out, send us a message, email universalsportstrength@gmail.com. Obviously here on Facebook, Twitter, at Universal Sports Strength, or Instagram, and we'll be happy to connect with them, schedule a call, and keep everybody on track. So But stay well, stay safe, and we'll catch up with everyone tomorrow.